give this a go here, and I'm going to try to explain. If you're watching this, and obviously you're in the basketball group, many of you already know all this information, but I'm going to do a quick rundown for those of you who are coming back, and then some of you are new. No need for introductions. You know who I am. You have this sweet graphic down here in the bottom right of your screen. I'm feeling sick today. It's great. Can't find any medicine. It's awesome. Anyway, so if you are watching this podcast and you've been invited to what is being called the Old School Fantasy Basketball League, and why we call it that, we don't play with wooden buckets or anything like that. We call it that because we used to have a basketball league back in the day, in the early 2000s. Yes, back in the day is the early 2000s now. And we probably, and you can ask anyone who is involved in this league, mainly myself or Richard, the other commissioner of the Survivor League, and also Ben and Rod and Colin, and pretty much everyone who has been in this league will say, the Old School Basketball League that is, will say that it's probably the greatest, yes, even over Muscle, probably the greatest league they've ever been in, okay? Now, there's a lot of things that goes into why that could be, some of which we hopefully will be able to replicate with this league, some of which we might not be able to. So first things first, let me just break it down for you, okay? This is, above all else, an experimental league, okay? Because back in the day, my brother, who may or may not join this league, we'll see, he used to run this league on CBS Sportsline back when, CBS Sportsline was a completely different company. And he had some cool settings that he kind of like personally emailed to have set up, and they obliged and actually did it for him. I don't think I would ever get that lucky again now that fantasy sports is so much bigger than it is. Probably any email like that would just go straight to the trash from ESPN or wherever. So a couple things. We are going to try to replicate this league. However, it may not work, okay? So at the very least, we're going to have one hell of a season. The question is, will it spawn into other seasons? That is the question. Now, a couple things that is worth mentioning here is that there is a site. CBS Sportsline does have like a deluxe edition site that may be able to do everything we need, but it might not be able to either. And the problem is it's $149 to get that league. So we are in no hurry to pay $149 if we don't really know if the league's going to work. So first of all, I'm going to say that we are going to go with this league with ESPN. It's going to be an experiment this first year, no matter what. If it's a success, then, and you guys like it and you have fun, which I know that, the people who were in it last year are going to like it, hopefully. Or like, it's been like 10 years. Shit. I've been with my wife for going on 11 years, and she was not involved with me when we were still in this fantasy basketball league, so it's been a while. If it's a success, we will then talk about migrating it over to the real league to make my job easier, okay? Now, what exactly am I talking about? Well, check it out. So, as it stands right now, you've all gotten invites. Well, at least most of you have. Eric Minturn and my brother, if he's in the league, is not. Danny Lane has offered to step up if my brother does not want to be in the league. He has until 2 o'clock today to decide. So we'll see. If you're in this league, you've already got an email saying, hey, join this league, yada, yada, yada. You come here, you have something like this. You won't have this big red screen here, but it is what it is. So as of right now, we are going to go with a 12-team league, okay? And it's broken into 3 conferences, East, West, and Central, just like, the NBA. I mean, at least it used to be. I don't know if it is anymore or not. I don't think so. I think they've broken into 4 divisions now. So here's where it gets, right off the bat, you'll see what the hell's going on. The best thing that we do, because the fantasy baseball suffers from the same problem too, is that the damn season is just way too long. Without fail, people lose interest every year. Even people who have been in fantasy sports for 20-some years, like myself, I've had friends that have been in my leagues for a long time, and they, in like the fantasy baseball league, always lose interest halfway through the season because the season's just too damn long. So what we do in this league is we break every NBA season up into 2 seasons, okay? Now, what that means, and here's the problem right out the gate, because ESPN does not really allow this. So what I'm going to do is we are going to do we're going to break up the season manually pretty much. After, I believe, 8 weeks it will be, because we're trying to basically do 8-week seasons and then 3 weeks of playoffs. That gives us a total of 22 weeks. The season's 23 weeks long. But you can't have, 11 and a half weeks of playing. So 8-week seasons. So how it'll work is this. After 8 weeks, okay, so you're going to play every team in your division twice. So that's 6 games. And you'll play another team 1 time So there will be, yes, you will go a year without playing a team. It's possible. Just like the NFL, you don't play everybody. So after the 8 weeks, the top division winners will automatically, move on, obviously, and then there will be 2 wild cards based on record. Presumably, one of them will be, and one of them may be a complete, like a lottery drawing. The other one, it might not be. We'll talk about that later. So then, week 9, 4 of those 5 playoff teams will play, and the top seed will get a bye. And then in week 10, the winners of those games will play, with that. And then week 11 will be the finals. And then at that point, we will reset everything, and that's when things will really get interesting. And we'll go from there, okay? Now, why will things get interesting? Well, because this is not your standard draft league, okay? We are going to have an auction to start things off. And back in the day, we had a $50 million salary cap. That is not happening anymore because ESPN's limited in what it can do. You cannot have auctions with decimal place values. So it used to be like, okay, we'll bid 4.2 million, 4.3 million, 4.7 million, yada, yada, yada. You can't do that on ESPN. The big company that it is cannot have fucking decimal places for the auctions, which is ridiculous, but it is what it is. We're just going to go with it, okay? So instead, we're using the default ESPN rules where you have $200 million because they can only increment the bids by $1 million bids. So Wednesday night, tomorrow night at 7:30, we will all be invited into this live draft. I've cleared it with almost all of you. You'll be able to be there. It'll be a live auction. And how it'll work is, it'll say, Bob Ames, call a player. Let's say he's like, well, I want to call Andre Drummond to the stand. We're not at court. It's to the auction block or whatever. And then it'll basically say, Bob Ames, he throws out his opening bid of $10 million. And then it goes from there. I can bid 11. I can bid 15. I can bid 20. Whatever you want to bid, that's how it bids. You'll say bid, bid, bid. It is very obvious. And then after so many seconds, nobody bids. It'll say going once, going twice, sold. And then whoever wins that player gets that guy. Now, of course, whatever your salary is for him goes, it goes against your overall salary, which in this case is $200 million. So you don't really want to spend too much on one player because, well, you won't have any money to spend on anyone else. So that's the easy part, okay? The real beauty of this league, however, is the fact that people always talk about keeper leagues, dynasty leagues, yada, yada, yada. This is the ultimate. I think someone just rang our doorbell, Cassandra. I cannot be interrupted. It will not happen. The ultimate dynasty league right here, because what will happen, assuming the league is a success, okay, you will sign these players for multiple years, okay? So the default increase, my God, now my phone's ringing. He'll call my wife. It's my dad. He's probably like, how do I do this? So the default increase per year is 10% of the salary, okay? So let's say you wanted to have Andre Drummond for, let me see if I can get this open here. Oh my God, my dad will not leave us alone. So let's say Andre Drummond here, you wanted to have, let's say he brought, we'll say base salary here. I'm sorry that this is not prepared, but I don't know what I'm doing. Let's say he's paid $24 million the first year, okay? You can sign him for up to 5 years, okay? Year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5. I should have definitely prepared this. I apologize. Equals this. Equals this times 0.1 plus this. Okay. And of course, because ESPN sucks, it doesn't really allow you to do 0.4s, but I guess that's how it works. I don't know how we're going to do that. But the thing is, after 1 year, we can move on to a different site that will hopefully allow us to do it. So, like I said, there's going to be some growing pains, no doubt about it, but I promise you that this is worth this, okay? So, let's say, for example, you had Andre Drummond, okay, and you draft him for $24 million, which could be a fair price. I don't know, because I haven't done this in 15 years. Year 1, you're paying him 24. Year 2, you're going to pay him 26.4. Year 3, you pay him 29.04. Now, you don't have to sign people for this many years, obviously, but if you do, you basically get to keep, the players you want. If you don't, then they go back into the auction pool for that whatever year's auction. So let's say, you don't have to sign this guy for 5 years, absolutely not. Let's say you want to sign him for 3 years. Then you'll know After 3 years, you're paying him $29 million. And then after that, you get the option of re-signing him again, but that would be a 25% signing bonus. So the advantage of signing people for long-term deals is that you get them locked up. This is very realistic, okay? You would have him for 29.04. Now, if you drafted him and then signed him for a 4-year contract, you'd be paying him 31.9. However, if you drafted him and signed him for 3 years, and then re-signed him, you'd be paying him 36.3. So at that point, you're like, man, I don't really want to re-sign this guy, so you let him go back into the auction pool for the next year. Now, let's say that this year, we're assuming everything works out perfectly. This could be, like I said, worst case scenario, this site doesn't let us do what we want to do. We have one awesome year of basketball, and then after that, we kind of redraw, okay? But we should be able to at least take this league and move it to the CBS league at some point in the near future. Might have to suffer through a whole NBA season, aka 2 seasons of the old school fantasy basketball, but we will get there. So basically, how it works is after 1 year, okay, I should do seasons, I guess, but year 1 in our league is a half of an NBA season. So if you sign someone for 2 years, that means you won't have to worry about, let them go to the auction block or re-sign them until the NBA season of 2018 starts, technically. So that's how that works. Now, of course, on ESPN's site, there is no option for signing people for multiple years. I will have a separate way of measuring this, I promise you. The one thing you really have to worry about right now is drafting your team, okay? Drafting your team, getting enough to be able to afford them for 1 year, and then you probably want to save a little bit of salary cap room for the next year. But again, you don't have to sign everybody for multiple years right off the gate. We'll have an extensive talk on this later too. But so anyway, so to do that, so in this league, what positions do we use? Okay, that's a great question. It's a great question. Let me show you. So we're gonna go to where's this at? Edit league settings. Here we go. If you look down here, we have bang. So this is a little bit different than a lot of the fantasy basketball leagues. A lot of fantasy leagues, you gotta have a point guard, gotta have a shooting guard, gotta have a small forward. Not here. Nope. Here you can build your team however you want. Basically, you have to have 2 guards, 2 forwards, 1 center. Okay, you do have to have a center. 2 utility players start. You have 5 people on your bench. That is a roster of how many? 12, just like the NBA. And then you have 2 spots in the reserve. Okay, so you can start 4 guards if you want. You can start 4 freaking point guards if you want. Granted, you won't win the rebound categories, but you'll win assists and you'll probably win free throw percentage. So yes, 2 guards, 2 forwards, 2 whatever you want, and 1 center is a starting lineup. You have 5 spots on your bench. Okay, so there's a total of 12 roster spots. Now, what categories? How does this work? Okay, so here's how it works. Every week, this is what's called head-to-head categories, quote unquote. It is hands down the best way of doing fantasy basketball, in my opinion. So let's say, okay, week 1. Okay, let me go back to this. I mean, these standings are not finalized. This is what I put in here. Okay, week 1, Team James versus Team Griner. Let's say. We'll just say. Okay, well, let's say I'm playing Griner in week 1. Okay. So if I'm playing Griner, that means you and I, Griner, are going to play 9 games. I haven't edited this yet. We're going to play 9 games. Let me edit this real quick because we are going to add turnovers into the mix to prevent. Yeah, because we're doing a shorter season. We try to make it look as realistic as possible. So it's going to be 8 weeks of 9 games. So every team is going to play 72 games, which is pretty close to the 82 that they play. So here's how that works, okay? Every week, let's say I'm playing Griner in week 1. All of my players, so the 2 guards, 2 forwards, 1 center, 2 utility players, we take all their stats for the week, all of them, and we total them up in 9 different categories, okay? So, for example, points. That's pretty easy. If I have LeBron James and I have, I don't know, Russell Westbrook, probably not going to happen. But I could have Pau Gasol, something like that. All their points are totaled for the entire week. And all of Griner's players' points are totaled for the entire week. And guess what? Whoever wins, whoever has the most points, gets 1 victory. They win the category of points, so that's 1 win for them. You do this for points, steals, rebounds, three-pointers, field goal percentage, assists, blocks, and free throw percentage. And then also turnovers. Fewest turnovers, obviously, wins. And that's how you determine who wins. So if my guys get more points, steals, and rebounds than his guys, I will get 3 victories that week. However, I will have lost the other 6 categories, thus I will get 6 losses that week. And that's it. So every week you play 9 games, essentially. And after 8 weeks, whoever has the best records wins the conference or the division. And then, there are the 2 wild card teams that we will settle that up. So that's it, basically. When you if you pick someone up, you are going to have to sign them, so you're going to have salary space for them. That is something that is not easily done on this league, it looks like, but we are going to try our best to manually do it on the Facebook page. Again, we suffered through this 1 year. If people actually are interested in this and do it, then we will actually pay to do the nice site next year. But to me, $150 is kind of steep for a fantasy league. I mean, the My Fantasy League is not even close to $150. It's like $110 or something like that if you don't get the early bird. I think I get the early bird every year. I don't know how much it is if you don't. So that's that. Draft. The auction is going to be tomorrow night at 7:30. Okay, so make sure you accept the invite and be good for that. And who the hell is this now? Good Lord, people just never leave me alone. Never leave me alone. Phil Levy, whoever that is. Who's Phil Levy? This is Phil Levy. So yeah, I don't know. Does anyone have any questions? Feel free to post them in the comments section of this, or in the YouTube or in the Facebook group rather. And yeah, that's pretty much it. 8-week season, 3 weeks of playoffs, then we reset and we will do another auction. That's where it could get interesting. But for now, we're just worried about the auction that we're going to do tomorrow night. So I guess we will be talking to you later. If you have any questions, I hope I didn't leave too much out. I mean, there's like Larry Bird rule and stuff like that, but we'll discuss that on the phone, in person, something like that. I don't know. So, yeah. All right. Well, comment in the Facebook group if you have questions, which I'm sure you will. And, yeah, we'll be talking.